Top 8 cities in the US that are actually tiny home friendly. Think owning a home in the US is out of reach? You're not alone. With housing prices breaking records and rent devouring paychecks, thousands of Americans are turning to something radical, something simple, something tiny. But here's the catch. Living tiny doesn't just mean downsizing. It means finding a city that actually lets you. Because despite the movement's explosive growth, many cities still treat tiny homes like zoning nightmares. Permits? Denied? Parking? Forget it. But what if I told you there are places, real cities, where tiny homes are welcomed, not just tolerated? Places where building small isn't a rebellion, it's a solution. Let's dive into the top 8 cities in the US that are actually tiny home friendly, where living big doesn't mean going broke. Durango, Colorado. Nestled in the Rocky Mountains with views that feel straight out of a screensaver, Durango isn't just a postcard, it's a pioneer. This small Colorado city was one of the first to allow tiny homes on foundations and wheels within city limits. But here's the wild part. It didn't happen by accident. Durango has been actively revising its zoning laws to support tiny living as part of its affordable housing strategy. That's right, the city is working with residents, not against them. But don't get too cozy just yet. Durango has high demand and limited space, so land prices are still competitive. The climate can also be harsh in winter, which means insulation and heating must be taken seriously. Still, if you want to live tiny without legal headaches and with mountain air in your lungs, Durango delivers. Fresno, California. Think California is all red tape and high rent? Think again. Fresno shocked everyone when it became one of the first big cities in the state to legalize tiny homes as secondary dwelling units, aka backyard homes. That means you can legally live in a tiny home on wheels in someone's backyard and even rent one out as a separate living space. For California, that's revolutionary. But here's the twist. This change wasn't just about minimalism, it was about survival. Fresno needed affordable housing options and tiny homes offered a way forward. Now, that doesn't mean land is cheap, and yes, you'll still deal with California-level building codes. But you get sunshine, legal status, and a growing community of tiny home dwellers right in the heart of the Central Valley. Not bad for a city once overlooked in the housing conversation. Portland, Oregon. It's Portland. Of course, they're tiny home friendly. This is the city that practically wrote the book on alternative living, from ADUs to co-housing to eco-villages. Portland has fully embraced tiny homes as backyard cottages and has streamlined its permitting process so homeowners can add them without fighting the city every step of the way. But here's what makes it unique. It's not just allowed, it's encouraged. Local nonprofits have even partnered with the city to build tiny home villages for people experiencing homelessness. Now, keep in mind, Portland real estate isn't cheap, and tiny home parking can still be tricky within certain neighborhoods. But as far as progressive policy goes, Portland is miles ahead, with a culture that truly supports living small and sustainably. Flat Rock, North Carolina. Tiny homes in the South, believe it. Flat Rock, a small town nestled in the Blue Ridge Mountains, might not be on your radar. But it's a hidden gem in the tiny living world. Why? Because Flat Rock is home to Simple Life, one of the country's most successful tiny home communities. It's not just a few scattered houses, it's a full-blown village with walking trails, community gardens, fire pits, and even yoga spaces. The zoning here was custom-tailored to make tiny homes work, and the town embraced it. You won't deal with city council debates or zoning gray areas. It's all been figured out. Sure, you'll have to live within the community's guidelines, but for those craving a worry-free tiny lifestyle with mountain views and a built-in neighborhood, Flat Rock is the blueprint. Spur Texas. Welcome to Spur, the self-declared first tiny house-friendly town in America. That's not a marketing slogan. This tiny West Texas town changed its laws specifically to invite tiny home residents. Whether you want to live on wheels or a permanent foundation, Spur will work with you. You can even buy a plot of land dirt cheap and build your dream. Tiny setup without a single HOA breathing down your neck. But don't expect city lights and Starbucks on every corner. Spur is small, like less than 1,000 people small. It's peaceful, remote, and not for everyone. But if you're looking for absolute freedom, wide open skies, and a place that not only accepts tiny homes but actively encourages them, Spur should be on your list. Rockledge, Florida. Tucked along Florida's Space Coast, Rockledge is proof that even sunshine states can embrace the tiny home movement. Back in 2015, city officials actually voted to create a special zoning district specifically for tiny homes, and not just on wheels. We're talking real, architecturally designed tiny houses with porches, gardens, and a sense of neighborhood. Rockledge wasn't just trying to be trendy. They saw tiny living as a smart solution to housing shortages and rising costs. The result? A city where you can live legally in under 400 square feet without jumping through endless hoops. Of course, hurricane season is real here, so building codes are strict about tie-downs and weather safety. But you get year-round sunshine, proximity to the beach, and a progressive take on what a home can be. Small, smart, and affordable. Olympia, Washington. The capital of Washington State may not be as flashy as Seattle, but when it comes to tiny homes, Olympia is leading the charge. With several permitted tiny home communities already in place, Olympia has not only legalized tiny homes, it's invested in them. Local ordinances allow for tiny homes on wheels in certain residential areas, and there's active support from city officials to expand zoning for alternative housing. Even better, Olympia is a hub for sustainability and progressive living. You'll find composting toilets, rainwater catchment systems, and solar panels proudly displayed across tiny dwellings all over town. Sure, the Pacific Northwest means you'll deal with rain, moss, and some chilly winters. But for tiny home enthusiasts looking for a city with political will, social support, and real infrastructure, Olympia checks every box. Lake Dallas, Texas. Another Texas standout, Lake Dallas is making major waves in the tiny home world. In 2019, the city opened the Lake Dallas Tiny Home Village, one of the first legal tiny home communities built specifically for homes on wheels. That's a big deal, because most cities still won't let you legally live full-time in a THOW, tiny home on wheels. But here, they embraced it. With full utility hookups, community gardens, and a welcoming vibe, Lake Dallas turned skepticism into celebration. The zoning was rewritten, the infrastructure was built, and residents now live comfortably with legal recognition. It's a model other cities are watching closely. Just know that space is limited, and growing demand means you'll need to act fast. But if you want a turnkey, tiny-friendly setup in a supportive, innovative community, Lake Dallas delivers in a big way. So here's the truth. Tiny living isn't just about square footage. It's about freedom. And freedom only works where the system supports it. These cities didn't just talk about solutions. They changed the rules, rewrote the codes, and welcomed a new kind of American dream. If you're thinking about going tiny, these 8 places are the real deal. Like the video if one of these surprised you. Subscribe if you're ready to ditch the mortgage and explore life outside the box, literally. And comment below, where would you build your tiny home? Let's go small and live big.